Hello and welcome to the Wild Witchcraft YouTube channel. We are the Wild Witches, and our topic this week is the gray areas of witchcraft, and we have a bunch of new hosts as well as some old hosts, and I will introduce everybody. My name is Random Heart, and our other hosts are Pagan Tree, Arwen of Tarot by Arwen, and Charlie Freed Dragon. And they're going to give their intros because some of them are new and some of them haven't given their intros yet. And then we will go into our discussion. And at the end, we will do a small Q&A of what our next topic should be. So, Pagan Tree, you may go.
Hey guys, so I've been on before, but I never got around to doing an intro, and no idea why. I just didn't. But I have my own spirituality, which I think most of us do, and I don't really follow anybody's rules. I don't really go completely for the label of eclectic either, just because some people seem to think, and I'm sorry, the dogs are going to decide to play right now. Some people seem to think that eclectic means that you have no focus, and I'm not saying that I agree with that at all, but I do have a focus. It's just that my path always changes, and I kind of do things the way I am led to do them, you know, by my guides and my deity and everything. And I think it works out really good for myself, just being solitary, little Wicca, little Druid, a little Buddhist, a little whatever I am drawn to. And so that's why I just identify as being very pagan and very earth. I love tonight's subject because I actually did a video on gray magic and the balance in the universe. So this is going to be a great night of discussion, I think, with all the girls and boys, and I'm sorry, Z's. So all of the witches. That's all I got right now.
Okay, I guess I'm up next. I'm Arwen. Most people know me as Arwen, Tarot by Arwen, because that's generally how I introduce myself on my channel. You may know me by my weekly taroscopes. I'm super happy to be here. I've watched some of the group things going on YouTube, and I thought, what fun! So I'm glad that I got invited to come play with y'all. My background is that I'm fairly traditional Wiccan. I went through a degree program. I have Oathbound Secrets. I don't think anybody's better than anybody else. I pretty much, as long as you're doing your thing your way and doing you authentically, it's a good thing by me. I'm pretty interested in this topic tonight because the color of magic is something I've talked about before, and I have a fairly opinion about it, so I'm excited.
Let's get this party going.
I guess it means that's my turn now. I'm Charlie the Free Dragon, and I'm non-binary. I use the pronoun ze/zim, and I am Norse eclectic is the term I kind of use. Eclectic, pagan Wiccan, and I mostly follow the Norse tradition. Specifically, my biggest patron is Loki, and I know a lot of people have some pretty bad misconceptions about him, but yeah, that's me. So it's great to be here. I'm really excited.
Awesome. So I'll get us rolling. Okay, so the last discussion we had, we started at the very end of our discussion, we started talking about the gray areas of magic, and we had some good comments, and I thought it would be a wonderful topic to get into because it's so interesting, and so many people have so many different viewpoints on it. I'll go ahead and say mine. I think that gray magic happens anytime you want to change anything other than yourself. So if you want to get, like say you do a spell to get a job, and you say you want the person to pick you to get that job. Like you go to the interview and you say, I want them to pick me. To me, that's gray magic and not white magic because you're manipulating the other person. Now, if it were to be something you're doing within yourself, like, I want to be better so that I can get this this interview, then that's completely white magic because you're doing it to yourself. You're manipulating your own energies for growth and for change. But if you do anything to change your outside world other than yourself and your own heart and your own energies, to me, that's gray magic. Not saying that it's bad. It's just not white magic. It's not like pure magic because you're manipulating others. That's my own viewpoint.
I don't know if I ever really thought about it that way, but I kind of like your idea. To me, gray magic is just very balanced. You know, whether your intention is something positive or negative, there is somewhere something that creates balance with it. If you're creating something positive, there is a negative repercussion somewhere, and vice versa. And so I kind of understand what you're saying. If you're working on yourself and you're working on positivity in yourself, it's really kind of hard to find a negativity that's going to come from your positive growth. But if you're working on someone else, it will be balanced, and that will create the grayness. At least that's what I'm taking from what you're saying.
Pretty much. Like, it's not bad. Well, you could turn it bad.
Well,
but
right.
That's all I'm saying, is it's not pure because you are manipulating other energies that are not your own.
Because you might be trying to manipulate something in a bad way, but then that's still going to get a good balance too. Balance is balance.
I think the exception I'd make to that, what you guys are talking about with which I like the way you're describing gray magic. I think the exception to that is when you're manipulating something to protect someone or something. I think that would probably still qualify as white magic, because even while you're technically manipulating outside things, you're purely using it as a protection. So, like, if, for example, there's a small child and you're protecting them from getting bullied at school, technically you're performing something that's manipulating the bullies, but the pure intent behind that is to protect. So I think that would be maybe the one exception to the rule of, like, to this concept of gray being manipulating outside of yourself. I don't know what you guys think of that.
I have a question for all of you. Why are we associating white with good?
Good question.
That's a very good question.
Why can't it just be magic? You
Yeah.
perform magic. Your intention is your intention. If you intend it to be evil, then it is. I really will not use white and black magic because I think it's inherently racist. I don't think any of you are being racist. Let me be real clear about that.
Right.
I just think our culture and the way we've been raised, that white is good, black is bad, and we kind of extrapolate that into a social level as well. So I avoid using it.
I agree with what you're saying. I think we need other words besides white and black and gray
Right.
to describe this.
What about if we decided in this discussion to change it from white, black, and gray to like pure to malediction?
Yeah.
Well, I think pure could be pure evil too. I mean, I don't
So
think that
positive, negative.
Positive, negative. There we go. There we go. Perfect.
Yeah, and just bad, good.
Yes.
Bad, good, because there's good, there's bad. Those two things don't have colors associated with them. They don't have anything associated with them but what the extra that we put on them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I would say, and the way I look at magic, I have done what the outside world would call black, evil, nasty, no good, bad Arwen kind of magic. You know, I've done stuff that involves blood and urine and hair to hex somebody. Done it. If the same situation came up again, would do it again. So, you know, does that make me a bad witch? In some people's eyes, yes. But I'm fixing to go off on a rant, so y'all need to stop me. There's a deal that...
There's a line everybody has that if you cross that, they will step in that zone. I mean, for me, I know I have that line. If somebody were to mess with my children, I'll bring hell to you. That's it. That's all. I mean, be afraid. Don't mess with my children. So,
Right.
Well, and that's a big thing. We can't say what someone else's line is.
Exactly.
You know, we are people.
Yeah, with me, I have I don't have any children, but I do have a fiance and some pets. And yeah, if someone goes after my pets, they're not going to be happy. I mean, actually, I did some blood magic myself to protect my one rabbit, who was there was something going on. I swear, someone was cursing my rabbits because within a span of weeks, two of them died, and it was just horrible. And I could see my third one going. So I did a spell to protect her, because, no, you don't get my pets.
Yeah.
And she was my little Chloe, and I just did a spell, the blood spell, a moon blood spell, and I protected her. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it's blood magic, and...
Yeah. And blood magic isn't bad as functioning female bodies. As a functioning female body, I have access, or had access, to monthly blood supply. Anymore because I'm 55. Those days are gone. But, you know, so I have access to that. Urine is another very useful magical tool. But the whole concept of color of magic, for me, it's more intent. It's more, what are you putting into it? What are you putting out there? If I'm doing a spell that says, I hate Charlie the Free Dragon so much, Z pisses me off just by breathing, then as a Wiccan, I have to face a couple of laws within my religion, the threefold law.
Yeah.
What I put out comes back threefold. And short story, it's not 3 times. It's threefold. Fold a paper 3 times, see how many layers you have.
6.
But that comes back on me. If I hex somebody or if I protect somebody, if I did what Charlie said, and when he was talking about protecting a child, I tie myself into that child. The way I do spell work, I don't just do a throwaway kind of thing. I'm involved in it because it's my energy. You know, so what do you consider if Charlie is in a coma? Do we send the energy to heal Z, or, you know, we don't know. Charlie hasn't said to us, if I get hit by a bus and I'm in a coma, please send me healing.
I say that now, though.
No, but that's a that is one of the biggest. I think that's a wonderful thing that you brought up, because I've had so many people say, you know, say that you have to ask permission before you can pray for me. You know, and that's for, like, good things, bad things, they don't care, whatever. It's like, you have to have permission, because they don't want other people's energies tied into them. And I've had other people that are like, I don't care, pray for me, do whatever you want, I love it, you know, whatever I can get, I can get. But I would like to go, if I can just roll back for just a second. I do have...
She froze up.
Yeah. You may never know what she has.
Yes, exactly.
There she is.
The coma? Are you talking about the coma one? Yeah. But no, so I once literally witnessed my own mother straight up, like, darkest curse someone. Like, just down and out. The person had, like, betrayed her, betrayed me, betrayed the whole family. Had, like, I mean, it was bad what they did, but they didn't deserve what she put on them. And
Oh,
she had
this is the story I know, huh?
she had no idea that what she put on that person was so powerful. But with the anger she put behind it, I mean, this person nearly died from how powerful she literally took a black raven's feather, pointed at this person, and I'm not going to say what she said, but she like straight up cursed this person to the ground. And I watched it and I felt true fear that day. Like true fear. Because I felt it, I saw it. 3 months later, the woman that she hexed or cursed or crossed or whatever you want to call it fell through a staircase, broke her back, broke both her arms, broke both her legs, nearly broke her neck, nearly died. This person nearly died because my mom got pissed off one day and decided to curse her. So I take cursing and hexing very seriously for myself because I saw what happened not only to the person who got cursed, but I saw the repercussions to my own mother. Her life was cursed after she cursed that person. Her life was cursed. My mother's life was cursed after that day. It just went downhill, 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 and I do believe it was because she nearly killed somebody because
back
she
at
was
her.
angry and she hexed them. And to me, that was the biggest lesson that I ever got dealing with any kind of negative magic, because I've had someone do the most horrible thing you can do to a person to me, and I said, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to curse that person. I'm going to protect myself, and I'm not going to go after them, because here's the deal. I don't want to curse myself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's my story.
I think a big part we have to think about is whether what we're doing is worth the repercussions.
Mm-hmm.
I went through a pretty traumatic event last September, and I did honestly very seriously consider cursing that guy. It was horrible. What I chose to do instead was cast a spell to try to protect his future victims, because this guy was the kind of person who was repeatedly horrible. I'm assuming people can gather what he did. So I did a spell instead of to directly affect him. I did a spell to try to protect all future people who would come into contact with him from becoming victims themselves. So I think there's ways we can do things to deal with situations that, if we're scared of the repercussions to ourselves, can protect us but still deal with the problem to some degree, if that makes sense.
I like that, the way you put the intent in there. I also, I think it was Arwen that was saying, like, if someone was in a coma, and do you want to be brought out of that coma? We need to think not just of the consequences of our actions, but if those actions are desired by whoever we're working with, whatever.
Yeah.
Such as, trying to get a spirit to pass on instead of maybe just cleaning out the house. Because where are we sending that spirit? We need to know what we're doing. Why is that person or spirit entity not having peace? And, communicate with them and make sure that we're doing the right thing. So we just kind of always have to have some responsibility and be aware of our own actions.
I think with cleaning a house, you have to be careful, though, because there are sometimes entities that will pose as innocent.
Oh, definitely.
Whereas their intent is to harm. So I think be careful about that. I've encountered some pretty malevolent spirits, and you don't get much of a choice with them. You have to do what you can to protect yourself and your family. So I think when possible.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about, like, maybe the little spirits that just haven't passed on, and maybe we need to find out why they haven't passed on first instead of just driving them out of the area. It's always by the situation is what we need to look at.
Yeah.
No, I completely agree with you, Pagan Tree, because people think that the only kind of negativity you can do is towards people on this plane, and I've actually, like, because I'm what people would call a medium, I've dealt with and witnessed people using entities in the afterlife. And I'm not saying, oh, they just use them to learn and happy day. No, like straight up use the energy
Slave labor.
of these people, because they're people.
Yeah.
They're sisters, brothers, mothers, daughters, brothers. They're people who have
Even if they
passed
were
on,
never human.
and they're using their energy, and they're using them, and you know, they think there's not going to be any kind of repercussion of that, and there is, like a big one. But I mean, I've had to deal with trying to protect spirits on the other side, especially like young spirits on the other side. It's a big story. I don't want to get into it, but I mean, there's all kinds of negative energy manipulation / witchcraft / whatever you want to call it that you can do.
Horrible.
To living people, but can be to the ether, can be to the ones passed on.
Mm-hmm.
I think with the coma thing, something we could say too, something more somebody cannot give consent to something. Maybe a better way to phrase it, instead of doing a spell to save them, do a spell so that their spirit can have what it wants. So word your spell in such a way that the spirit gets the ultimate decision. So for example, someone in a coma, do a spell that their spirit will find what it desires. So if their spirit's goal is to move on, it can do that more easily, or if the spirit's desire is to wake up, it also has that option at a more easy level. I think that's a good idea. If something can't give consent, or like an animal, anything that can't give direct consent to you. And I speak as someone who has who can do what a lot of people call astral projection, and also a lot of different names for it. But sometimes certain animals, especially, I have several familiars, I can that are actually living, breathing animals. I've been able to communicate more directly with them. To a certain extent, it's a little difficult to describe, but I think it's a branch of astral projection to some degree for me. But with my one cat familiar, Marlo, he's my baby. Animals can't give true consent, so part of what you have to do is, like, to you directly. So what you have to do, I find, at least it's what I believe people should do, is word all your spells that involve them in such a way that you're giving them the ultimate control on whether the spell works or not, and in what direction it works. To the extent that it doesn't harm yourself. So don't write, like, not a spell that would give them control over you, but a spell that allows them to reject your spell. Basically put clauses in there is what I usually do, to prevent the other being from being forced into something by myself.
So keep
For
letting them
spells,
keep
especially
their
spells that
choice.
work with astral projection.
Very cool.
So I have a question for everybody. Scenario. Let's see, what kind of magic would you do for it? I guess is the question I'm asking. You have a friend on Facebook who's being bullied by other people, harassed, picked on, whatever. We know it happens all the time. That's why I'm using that.
Bullied on Facebook?
Right.
Okay.
How do you magically or non-magically, well, I guess non-magically we know what we might do, but how do you magically approach that? Do you feel like that's a good magic, bad magic, or neutral magic? I like good, bad, chaotic. I'm kind of a Dungeons and Dragons person.
Oh, I want to play.
Although not all chaotic magic is necessarily negative, so
That's
just saying
right.
that. As somebody who follows Loki and gets a bad rap on that one.
Loki in the house. Sorry.
No apologies necessary.
Okay. So I'm gonna answer this pretty easily. Can we contact this person and talk to them, or is there absolutely no contact involved?
I don't know. What will make it a better scenario? This isn't a real one. This really isn't. I have a friend.
Like, put the situation with me. Like, say, can I get in touch with my friend or can I not get in touch with my friend? Do I have to make the decision myself or can I ask?
Let's say you can't get in touch with them. Let's say it's they've cut off everybody because of the bullying, I guess.
All right, here's what I personally would do if it was one of my friends and I felt that the bullying had gone to a place of harm for my friend. I would act, and therefore it would be gray magic. There are, neutral magic. What I would do personally, babe, can you turn that down? It's a little loud. Babe, can you turn it down? It's a little loud. Sorry. What I would personally do is, number one, I would try to, I know this sounds bad, but I would put a shield around them myself.
Yeah.
Like, I would send them energy, shield them myself. I would probably talk to my goddess or whichever goddess I know they are accustomed to speaking to. And I would petition for them for help. I know this is literally, you're sticking your foot in it, you know what I mean? Like, you're going where you're not supposed to, but you know what? This is my friend. If I love them, if I care for them, I'm going to do these things because if I care for somebody, then I'm going to try to do the best I can for them. Now, will I try to attack the people? It's really going to depend on how bad it is. I'm going to be real honest because I can be honest with myself. I've gone into mama bear mode with some of my friends and magically, you ever think of the shields and given them kind of shapes and kind of spiked the outwards ones? Do you know what I'm talking about? Like a shielding ball and then there's like a mace, like spikes all around it. Like, yeah, you can try to get my friend, but it's going to hurt you in the end. It's going to teach you. I've done that before.
Yeah.
I'm not afraid to admit that, and I would probably do it again if the same situation arises. So I would send them healing. I would send my friend healing. I would shield them, but I wouldn't attack anyone. That's what I would do.
Cool.
And
I've
I'm
actually
thinking the
been
same
in
thing,
this
except
scenario
maybe without the
myself.
spikes.
Okay, you guys talked at the same time.
Sorry,
You
go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just saying, I was thinking about the same type of thing. I just really picture like this bubble or ball around the person. Flexible, of course, that would just be warding off any negative energy coming to them. Honestly, I just got the words "the love and light," which I know everybody just loves so much. But just having something to ward off the negative. And I would not attack the troll or bully person because honestly, I don't know their situation, and I know it sounds really kind of weird that, well, they're the bully, so they're the bad guy. But that's not always the case. As a social worker, I actually worked with domestic violence offenders for a while, and coming out of that, I gained a great respect for those perpetrators, which sounds almost absurd, but I learned where they came from and why they were the way they were and how they didn't want to be that way, but that was what was instilled in them their whole lives. And so that's the thing is, even if somebody's being absolutely horrible and negative, I don't know why they're like that. So unless I know, I'm not going to flat out just attack them. I mean, I will not let them hurt anyone, hopefully, but I'm not going to attack them without knowing the whys. Does that make sense?
That's a super thing to think of.
It's hard to hear.
It is hard.
It's hard to hear. I know that there's a truth in it, but that's really hard to hear for me personally.
I've been an internet bully. I was one of the mean kids.
Mm-hmm.
It was a group called Witch Wars, which gives you the flavor of the list right off the bat. And if you came on there and were stupid to our way of thinking, it was a dog pile. So I've been that person, and it came from a place of being angry, not liking myself, and being pretty bitter. So I understand what you're saying, Pagan Tree, about, think about that other person, and yeah, do protect the person. This is going to sound ugly. Some people put themselves out in social media and social situations like they're chum in a shark pool.
But I think that comes from a place of ignorance, not I mean, respectfully, I'm going to say, like, that doesn't mean that they're a punching bag or a doormat, but I mean, there is a, I mean, I come across it all the time in the circles I run in. I'm not going to mention the circles, but in the circles I run in, I come across a lot of very new, very ignorant people to certain things, and I always go, if you're not ready for this, don't step into it. Learn about it first, and please, 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 I'll say this to everybody out there, you listening, viewer, be careful on the internet. Don't be stupid. Don't give out information. Don't meet people without some backup. Be safe. Don't send pictures out. That's all I'm going to say. Like, don't be dumb. Like, think of yourself and have respect for yourself, and put your safety first above anybody else's opinion, above anybody else's hurt feelings. Your safety comes first.
Absolutely.
That's what I'm going to say to everybody out there. That needs to be heard by everybody. Because I come across day in, day out, these people that are just ignorant to the rules of the internet. You don't do this, you don't do that, you stay safe.
Yeah, and it's the same way, meeting somebody for coffee. If I was going to go meet Charlie for coffee, I keep picking on Charlie, but if I was going to go meet Charlie for coffee,
easy name to remember.
That's why.
I'm not going to go meet Charlie without telling somebody I'm meeting this person at this time, at this place.
And preferably meet me in a place with lots of people. Not that I'm a bad person, but as a safety rule, you meet someone where there's more than one person.
It's the same as internet dating, people. I met my husband online, but we were smart about it. When he came to my house, I went outside to walk my dogs with my phone, and I found his truck and took a picture of his license plate and texted it to my best friend.
No, I get you. That's how I met my boyfriend that I currently live with, and we didn't meet for almost 5 months.
Yeah.
I mean, we took it super slow, and when we did meet, it was in public. Everybody knew where we were going to be. Pictures of us were everywhere. Our vehicles, everything. We were careful. I know this went on a weird tangent, but it had to be said, I think. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what the View does. We are just going off.
There we are. Yes, exactly. We're like the View, but with witches.
Well, I think it comes
Well,
because
Sorry, you want to go ahead?
Go ahead, Charlie.
Alright, I'll be the one to bring us back a little bit on track with the shield thing. What I was thinking is, if with the shield, I've actually personally been in a very similar situation, what we were talking about with the, someone being bullied a lot. I was actually part of a online support group that was going on for a while because of, it's actually via Tumblr, which I know a lot of people have really bad opinions about Tumblr, but it can be a really great place to express yourself. But what had happened was there was, I don't know if you guys remember this on Tumblr a while back, but there was a bunch of Anons that were working together and just attacking people, especially people with mental health issues, mercilessly and telling them to kill themselves. It was a whole big thing for a while. I don't know if anyone remembers this. It was huge. I mean, there must have been about 100 or 200 different Anons just doing this. And I mean, they were harassing horribly, like repeated messages to people telling them to kill themselves and that they deserved to die, and it was really bad.
Horrible.
Yeah, it was awful. And what a group of people and I did. What?
Nuns?
No,
Anonymous people who,
Oh!
yeah, they hide behind a
Not
nominated.
people dressed like penguins.
Yeah, they hide behind being anonymous to attack people so they can't get in trouble as much. It was really horrible, and the group that I was working with, we actually set up a private chat and actually had tabs on everyone who was being attacked. We're messaging them, encouraging messages, and just trying to help people combat the negativity. And what ended up happening is a group of us actually got assigned. We'd have a list, and we were supposed to check these people as often as possible to kind of see how they were doing, see who was the worst, and then assigning the people who were at the worst stages to other people to just try to keep the positivity and hopefully prevent people from killing themselves. One of the goals was if people got too bad, we'd try to contact someone they knew and get an ambulance to their house. That actually did happen. A few people ended up in the hospital from this whole thing.
Did you send them energy? Like, did you send them healing? Is that what you're...
Yeah, it was sending them healing, sending them messages of encouragement, just anything you could do to try to keep these people from dying. One girl, though, we weren't, some people we were just trying to, like, you couldn't get to everyone. I mean, I had a list of 60 people that I was supposed to be checking on regularly, and that's a lot to check on these people, see how bad they are, who's not posting anymore, who suddenly stopped messaging anyone. You know, it was really overwhelming, to be honest. And it was 4 a.m. at this point, and I've been doing it for 12 hours, so it was intense. But you end up getting to the point where what we did is I shielded everyone on my list, and I said, I did almost like a bounce back shield, so people who would try to attack them, it would just bounce back onto them. So instead of directly attacking the other people and making like spikes or something, it was like rubber or whatever. As soon as it hit, it would bounce right back onto the person.
Like a return to sender?
Yeah, exactly. And the goal was just to shield these people, and I almost did it like a one-way mirror. So, if the person went searching for this, I didn't block them from receiving it then, but it prevented them from receiving it unnecessarily. So if they didn't actively go after these people, then it wouldn't touch them. So it was almost like a one-way mirror this way. They could go through to it, but it wouldn't come through to them unnecessarily, if that makes sense. To most of those people, actually, to give a positive ending to that, we were actually able to save most of the people on the list. There was at least one person we did lose, which was not easy. She was on my list and didn't make it. There was a lot of people hospitalized. It was pretty horrible, but most of the people made it, which was a relief. You still feel bad for the ones you couldn't save, but I'm also a bit of an empath, so that was not easy for me to lose someone that I felt like I was trying to protect. But for anyone who's an empath out there, just something to remind yourself of. You are not responsible for other people's decisions. It's not always easy to remind yourself of that. I lost another friend who took his own life this past Christmas, and just remember, it is not your fault. It's not easy, it's painful, and as empaths we have a desire to take into ourselves, but just remember that there are times you're going to need to close off your emotions to receiving other people's things, because you cannot hurt yourself to help others. If you are not helping yourself and protecting yourself first, you are not going to be able to help others. And I just hope that's a message that those of you out there who are empaths or believe you might be empaths can just try to remember. Hope that helps people.
Charlie, if I can, one of the things I learned, because I am an empath, I'm not a little bit of an empath, I'm a please stop feeling people when I walk into the room because you're screwing with my head empath.
Yeah.
What I learned is, are you familiar with chakras?
Not too much. Being an empath is something I've only been learning about that I am recently. I found out actually because one of my friends was pretty upset online, and it wasn't even that and I've always kind of felt it off and on through my life, I just never really recognized it, that I'd have people around me especially I lived with a mother who was not the best person, and a brother who was extremely emotionally and physically and horribly abusive, so it took me years to understand why I felt so horrible at the time. When I finally moved out and I live with my fiance now, I was finally able to start working through that, and that's when I sort of recognized an empath. So that's a newer revelation for me. One of my friends, she noticed it, and she's like, I think you might be an empath, given how much you respond to people. But it's a little difficult for me to, I have autism, so it tends to present in interesting ways for me.
Yeah.
So.
Well, what I was going to say is, are you familiar with funnels?
Yes.
Funnel. Right here. Solar plexus is one of your chakras, and generally I tell people, think of something that terrifies you. And generally it's boom, that's where it hits you. Stick a funnel right there. It can come in and it goes right out.
Okay.
You know, and you can use what you need to, but most of it's going straight out. I use a funnel system because I can walk into a room and know if people have been fighting or if they've been happy, even if they're sitting there with no expression. It's really weird, and it used to kind of freak me out. I've gotten used to it, and I've learned how that there are ways when you go into a weird situation, just cross your arms right over your solar plexus. It doesn't, I mean, yeah, body language, that looks defensive, but it's a good way to protect yourself from an emotional onslaught until you're ready to deal with it.
Yeah, I've been walked into some bad rooms, and it's just like, I've had at times to just go, I'm walking right back out again, because I can't do this.
Yeah.
Have you heard of the zipper method?
No.
What? Zipper?
Yeah. Arwen, you've heard of it, huh?
Yeah.
You kind of think of it as like your core, and what you try to do instead of like shielding or whatever, you literally strengthen your inner core of energy, and you think of it like a zipper from your root chakra or like your pelvic bone all the way up. You can do it if you need to physically at first, but you take it all the way up and you zip yourself up and you lock it, and you just act as if there's like a big glowing like rod of just pure energy, and it's just zipped up, and you're strong and nobody can get to it, and it kind of strengthens yourself first. And then I also layer that with what I call a filter method instead of shield, because empaths can't really shield themselves. What they can do is they can filter themselves. Like Arwen uses the funnel. I and my sister, because I'm like the little tiniest bit of an empath, but it's only because I'm a medium, and my sister's all empath and she can't turn it off, so we kind of learned this method of filters. Instead of thinking of it as a shield, literally thinking of it as almost like have you ever seen like a colander where there's
I'm
little...
kind of picturing almost like cheesecloth right now.
Yes.
Perfect.
Like you filter out what you can't take, and you take in what you can. So what I would think of it is like almost like sound, like a dampener, like a sound dampener, but for energy. Do you get what I'm saying? I know I'm not explaining it very well, but
Yeah, no, I think I'm getting it at least.
Kind of like the Brita filter. You're only letting the pure go in, and
what you need to pick up.
Right. What you want.
Exactly. Good way to put it.
Yeah. I do have a question for everyone, kind of unrelated a little bit to the what original topic was, though we have gotten rather off topic. What do you guys think of, I know a lot of people in the community believe in people who, for lack of a better word, aren't totally human, as in have other influences. Some people go with demonic, angelic, any variation. I mean, there's people who believe that you just have fairy in you or other things. And then there are some people who believe that some people can sense that in other people. I want to hear people's opinions on that. Anyone have any?
Yes, definitely. That's my big opinion on it. It's like I don't think that we are all the same, and I know I sense the energies and entities there, and I can often sense if there's something different. I'm not saying I will always sense. There is no absolutes that I believe in, at least. And yeah, no, just everything you just said, definitely. My big answer.
I don't know that I've met anyone like that, but again, I'm a pagan on. I can't say yay or nay, because each person has their own authenticity. Each person has their own truth,
Yeah.
So, and that for me, you said that you are on the autism scale. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah. It's I do somewhat hate the concept of a scale with autism, personally. I know a lot of people who are autistic also agree with me, because when you say you're high functioning, then you have people say, oh, you don't need help, or accommodations. And when you say you're low functioning, people expect nothing from you, to the point where you can have your abilities shut down and belittled, and you're never going to amount to anything. So I don't think there's a scale, because some days I'm honestly not doing anything. I'm in a bed, not going to move. I can't eat, do anything myself. And other days, today, good day. I'm great, moving on, doing stuff, getting a lot done. So I hate the concept of scale. Kind of implies high and low functioning, but so
we have the same thing in the blindness community. Total blindness versus low vision and everything in between, and it's like, you know what, blind is blind. I can't see it, okay? So it's like, and yes, I can see my daughter's car is parked right there. That doesn't mean I am sighted. I am not a sighted person. I am still blind. So I don't think we need hierarchy. I don't think we need to label each other or anything.
Yeah, I think when you start labeling people higher, lower, can do something well, can't do something well, partial, whatever, unless they're doing it themselves, that's just a problem.
Yeah. And I like that. That I learned something, so thank you.
No problem.
My point was going to be, do you think that, is this something you see in people who are autistic like you, who have autism or who have been diagnosed? I know that a lot of people have been misdiagnosed with that. So
yeah, I was actually misdiagnosed incorrectly as not being autistic because of being assigned female at birth. They just said, oh, you're a girl, you can't be autistic. And I was like, yeah, I'm not going to agree with you there. And after talking to a lot more doctors, actually, recently, they're like, yeah, you test very high for standards on, like the medical standards to meet autism. So it's actually kind of funny how that stuff happens. But for me, actually, I can usually, I've had a lot of people I've been able to tell they don't seem quote-unquote normal or human. Mm-hmm. And not all of them were autistic. A lot of them actually weren't.
Okay.
I saw a few people who were definitely not human and definitely not what I'd call a good entity. I mean, it was rather terrifying. It's almost, for me, how I see it in people. It's almost like there's a skin below the skin. To bring up a TV show that actually is a good example, have any of you guys ever seen the TV show Supernatural?
Yes.
Or heard of it? Okay, in the show, there's people who look human, but, and I hate, by the way, not all creatures that we label as demons are necessarily evil. I'm just going to say that right now. Some of them aren't really, they're just have powers that lean towards more the negativity or chaos, but they're not necessarily evil. It's what you do with your chaos. Follower Loki, I strongly believe that. But with these people, they very much radiated evil, pure evil, and it's almost like in Supernatural, there's the demons in that show, they're just all evil, who are below the skin, so only, like, for example, other species can see it, and it's not physically, they have one skin, but if you kind of stare at them for a second or two, there's another one below it. That's kind of how it looks for me, so I'll see people who, I look at them, and it's kind of almost like a shimmer effect underneath their skin, and you can kind of see this other thing under it. And as a kid, it was actually really terrifying, because I'd go places, and my parents, I said, were Christian, so we'd go to church, and there was these two people at the church that I was terrified to be near. I mean, blatantly, like, I would start shaking, and there was this weird effect to their skin, and I just noticed it, and I terrified of them. And there was another person at the church that I just loved being around, and it felt like they shone. It was like this almost physical shine to them, and I felt comfortable around them. And it's just kind of this effect to people, and it's not quite an aura, because auras, it's viewed differently. I can see auras pretty clearly usually, so it's auras are different than this. It's almost a skin below a skin. I'd describe it almost like a mask people can put on.
Do you think what you're making me think of is that you're seeing another persona of that person, maybe a past life or something, and maybe that life was really good or really bad, and you're perceiving something that is there deeper within them, and maybe they're not even aware of it.
Some people I definitely don't think are. I mean, but it almost comes out in other ways. And a lot of times with the people with the very negative energies, I actually feel physically sick around them. It's not even almost. It's I think it's tied to my empath portion, but it's I feel physically sick. I mean, I'll get horrible migraines, shake, want to throw up around these people, and it feel creepy, skeeved out, scared.
Yeah.
Honestly, the guy who hurt me, I felt that around him, but it was. I wish I'd listened. That was right before I really started trusting myself on this. And I didn't trust myself, and so wish I had at this point.
Right.
So I've learned not to doubt that one, because if I doubt it, I have very bad outcomes.
Right.
Yeah.
I've experienced something like that. I just really remember one instance, and this was back in undergraduate, which, I mean, I had like a 30-year undergraduate, but I remember there was this one girl that every once in a while I'd see around campus, and it was like she would just kind of glide by, and I never felt like she was human. And usually she would go by, and it was like her body would be going, let's say her body would be going west, but her face she'd be focused on me to the south, and just kind of like going. And I just, every time I'd see her, it was like wherever she was moving, she was focused on me, and I just got chills everywhere, and I'm like, no, she's not right, there's something not right there. And one time she had gotten on the bus, and because I had commuted, it was like an hour or something away, and she got on the bus, and I'm sitting there, and she comes by, and she's walking down the aisle, and just the whole time, just her face was focused on me from the moment she got on the bus all the way back. And I never saw where she sat, and I never saw her get off the bus either. But she just walking by, just focused on me. And I remember asking someone else, I go, "Did you see that girl? I mean, who is she?" And nobody else saw her. And I don't know.
Wow.
I just always had the creeps with her. I mean, that was many years ago, and I still remember it.
Do you remember what her eyes looked like, out of curiosity? I mean, that would be something I feel like I'd focus on in that scenario, so... Do you remember what her eyes were like?
Yes and no. Normal detail that you would, I mean, even when I was part of the sighted world, I never had good vision, so I really couldn't see what you would consider details. But I know they didn't look right. They were very kind of like jeweled, and just, I don't remember any specific pupils. It was just kind of like there was this look coming at me. And I don't mean like glowing eyes, but it was just, more like, I just can't keep looking at you, but I couldn't look away either, and it was like, oh geez, go away.
Yeah. Okay. Well, not gonna speak on that because I've seen a lot of things as a medium. But to your original question about believing if somebody could be more than human, all right, this is gonna make me sound a little cray-cray, but you know how that goes. Random. I kind of believe the whole deal of we came from aliens. So I believe that we're all kind of more than what we think we are.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's going to sound a little crazy, but that's just my own opinion. So I think
You
that
do know you're talking to a bunch of witches, right?
I know, but
Yeah, like, you do remember this.
I'm not only talking to you guys, we're talking to like a whole bunch of other people.
I know.
Eventually, you know what I mean? So, I mean, I know people are going to be like, yeah, that does sound crazy. You better check yourself.
Is it kind of the Lumeria thing that you
Well,
prescribe
I mean,
to?
I guess I want to say it like, I think that what, stop distracting me. I think that what we see in each other and what you see, what you guys saw in those other people were maybe the, I wanna, in my head it says bloodline. Like in my head I'm thinking the bloodline of what they came from. Like you carry that into you, but to me, I really don't have any connection to bloodline because I'm adopted. So
Same
it's,
here. Yay, another adoptee.
yeah, adopting. But it's hard for me to connect to the word bloodline. Maybe it's origin, lineage, origin, the origin of where you and I and everyone came from. And I don't think we all came from the same thing because we don't look the same. We don't, we're not, I mean, we're the same, but everybody's so different that I think we did come from different things. And that sounds really weird.
So are you saying that we recognize the bloodline connection with them?
I think that it's all about vibrations. And for some unknown reason, some people can tap into the vibration of, I recognize you are different energetically. I can see the differences in the aura, or I can feel the differences in the energies of your emotions. It's all about the vibration that somebody or anything or anybody gives off, and for some reason we have either a learned or latent ability to tap into those abilities to feel those vibrations. So whether you're thinking this person has to be a demon, or maybe they're a fairy, maybe they're unseelie. You know, I mean, you can think of it anything. But I mean, I have seen people, I have felt the energies of what you guys are talking about. And thankfully, those people were never in my life. They were just passers-by that I gave a wide berth to. But I've also seen some very magnificent people with magnificent like light coming off of them.
Yeah.
Just healing, being just sitting near them, and it was a grand experience, and I was blessed to get a message by them, and I do think that I don't think that we're all just human. I do think that our origins can't be known even by the greatest of scientists. I think that it's too old. It's too primordial to be understood by science. And I think that the fact that even now that we can tap into those things and recognize those things in each other is something we cannot lose. I really don't want our next generations to be so immersed in science and technology that we lose our spiritualness and our healing and our connection to the earth.
Yeah, I think it's actually getting stronger. I think that our connections and spirituality is is really on an uprise right now, and I'm going to take over.
As the person who's
Sounds so pinky in the brain.
as the person who's probably the youngest here, I'm gonna guess, given I'm 20, I kind of agree with you that I think it can be getting stronger. I actually had a really amazing experience, which maybe made me sound a little crazy too, so right there with you, on the sounding crazy online thing. I was actually touched by the Fae, the fairies, when I was younger.
Mm-hmm.
I had a friend that I met, and no one else has ever heard of them, seen them. I can't find them anywhere. There's no existence of them. Nobody even remembers them existing. And they basically let me realize that while blood-wise I don't actually have a physical, blood fae relative, um, there are people out there who I believe are chosen by the fae to be as the next generation. So even people who don't have a direct lineage, I know a lot of people believe that to be a witch you have to have some lineage. I don't know. I think that can be a bit of a problem to believe that, but they do believe that. Yeah.
I'm
But I
sorry.
know a lot of people out there who believe that there are people who have at least some blood in you or some relation to something in your past that directly, even a past life that affects you.
And I think that's a really good point, the past life, because I think our ancestors and our lineage is more than just biology. We may have the closest connection with ancestors that we are not biologically descended from, but it's a cultural ancestor. And so that would be the same thing with the faith. It's who we feel the connection with and who accepts us into that connection.
Yeah, the Fae actually were really amazing when I met them. They allowed me to, I was allowed to witness one of my past lives. I mean, I don't know how many I have, but I was allowed one of them. And it was actually a Roma child. Nobody used the term gypsy. That is an incorrect term. Please don't use it. But I was allowed to realize that I have Roma heritage through my past life. She was actually killed for being a witch, is what I was allowed to realize. That during World War II, actually. So, not a fun thing I was allowed to remember. One of the ways I realized how real that was is that I'd never really studied World War II at the time. So I was a little kid, and I actually could detailedly describe what the smell of burning flesh smelled like. Something that, as a 7-year-old, I should have no experience with, but I could tell what the screams and dying of a dying person was at the age of 7. And those are memories I have that I should not have, things I should not know, and having no experience with them, I shouldn't be able to so visibly and physically understand them. So,
and if they allowed you to see it, there's a reason that you need to remember that.
Yeah, doesn't mean I like it, but yeah.
No, but we can't always like. We can't pick and choose.
No, we can't. But I'm still trying to work through what the Fae wanted me to know that for, and what my purpose is. But yeah. So that's my really incredible story. That was interesting.
Well, we are rolling up on 10 o'clock EST. I think this was a really great. This was a really great discussion. I'm really thankful that you guys tuned in. I'm thankful to Arwen and Dragon for coming and being new hosts. I think that this group is. I had so much fun. I know we went off tangent a lot, but you know what?
That's okay.
Some interesting stuff happened.
It was chaotic.
Now,
hey, Loki.
Yes, exactly. He's right up there. I've got the clock. He's right there. I mean, he's watching over us all. It's chaos in the finest form. What do
So
you
you got
guys?
the Q&A now?
What do you guys have ideas for our next talk? Thank you for that. You just you just show him the clock. Thanks for that randomness.
Well, what about a rip off of the good black, gray, indifferent magic? I just did the same thing I said I wouldn't do. And do spells that have gone wrong.
Ooh.
I would like to twist that a bit. I would like for us to do witchy story time with spells that have gone awry for us, or turned out a different way than we thought. Wouldn't that be cool?
Yeah, that would be cool.
And you know the subject is not going to just stay in that one spot. It's going to travel the realms.
Yes.
Just like tonight.
I'd also like to propose, maybe not next time, but maybe one of the times we should discuss elements and how they can affect our magic itself and ours in general. So what element you work with best, and how the elements in general can affect your personal magic. Because I think that can be useful to other practitioners out there.
Yeah.
In
Yes.
how elements can affect it in general. Or also we could even include things like the lunar and solar settings, time of day, any of that stuff that can really affect your magic. If you do the right spell at the wrong time, it can influence it pretty strongly, so maybe even going along with that, that could be something we include.
I like that. Yeah. I like that. I like the fact that we're going to talk about, maybe we don't have to go into the correspondence of it, but maybe the effects. Can we do that? Yeah. Because anybody can talk about the correspondences, but maybe the effects, like the effects if a fire sign, like a Sagittarius like me, is doing healing, what would that do to that magic other than my sister, she's a Pisces and she has water, so she taps into healing a whole lot easier than I do. Maybe we could talk about like, the effect.
Yeah, I think that sounds nice. Even how what we've combined has, even to tie into the first topic, how what we've used in different spells, how we think that affected the outcome and why it didn't go the way we wanted, and maybe how in future we'd use a different version of it or different elements into it. So we have to tie this together.
That's interesting. I like it, guys. Well, I want to say thank you so much. This was so much fun. You guys are awesome.
And we should probably say thank you to. We should probably say thank you and hi to Grey Oak, who commented in the Q&A if anyone saw that.
Oh, yeah, hi, Grey Oak.
Hi, Grey Oak.
Hi.
I don't see it.
Just thought we should shout out to the people who bothered to comment to us.
Thank you, commenter. So,
sorry.
This has just been so much fun. We're going to go ahead and wrap it up. The next discussion will be about misfired or unintended consequences from spells, and maybe the correspondences to elements and their effects to it. I think that's what we kind of talked about. I think that's a really good topic, and I hope to see you guys here again on the Wild Witchcraft with the Wild Witches at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Mondays. Have a nice night, guys. Bye.
Seek joy, y'all.
Bye, guys. Blessed be.
Blessed be.